Welcome to the Gamecast. This is Mark, your host from Pix in Motion, joined by Greg from Bitbox Gaming. Today's a special day because the Wii, god damn, it's old now. So let's talk about the Wii and its launch and stuff like that. So let's get into that. So Greg, 13 years ago, the Wii came out, and Nintendo essentially, you could say, started a revolution in a way.
Yeah, they definitely did.
Pun intended.
Yep.
For those that don't know, the Revolution was the code name for the Wii, and that was actually announced in 2004 that they were working on it.
Yeah, what a lot of people today don't realize is that when this thing was being hyped up and called the Revolution, even though a lot of younger people seem to think it's a silly name now, it was actually pretty exciting then because the GameCube was far more powerful than the PS2, like through and through.
And in some cases,
Better than the Xbox.
There was certain areas where it was better, but I don't think it was ever utilized.
Yeah, so it was like an era where, like, Nintendo was not the technically deficient hardware maker that they are today. Like, the Wii is where that started. Like, but prior to that, they were very competitive when it came to tech specs on their consoles. So at the time, we had the GameCube, and there was like games that looked amazing, like the Resident Evil remake, and Metroid Prime, and the Zelda games and stuff. Just fantastic looking stuff. So when they started talking about this thing being codenamed Revolution, it's like, holy crap, what's this thing going to do?
You know, and actually it's kind of funny because when they had announced that, then eventually Microsoft, they kind of wanted to beat them to the punch. And a revolution is 360 degrees, and it's kind of why the Xbox 360 got its name the way it did. At least that was kind of the rumors at the time. And then, of course, we all know that visually speaking, it wasn't quite the revolution we were thinking of. They went in a completely different direction.
Yeah. Well, just quickly about the 360 name. I remember an interview with, I think it was Jay Allard.
I remember that guy.
He said that the name was chosen because it encompassed the idea of it being an all-encompassing entertainment device. So it just did everything in your living room for you, which they weren't wrong. It did, but anyway, yeah, the Wii was not the graphical powerhouse that a lot of us were hoping for, but that controller, I still remember the reveal of that. That was weird.
Yeah, it's like, oh, so we're gonna use a TV remote. Yeah. That's kind of how I felt at the time, but you know, I did not pre-order. I knew I had some friends in college that did, but my roommate and I decided to wait in line. And we were at Best Buy down in Florida, so no snow, thankfully. Mm-hmm. But it still got cold, probably about 35 degrees or something Fahrenheit. But Best Buy didn't open until 8 o'clock. And so my roommate was like, well, I'm going. I'll see you later. I'm like, okay, it's noon the day before. You're going to be there all that time? I mean, it's crazy. He ended up being like number 16 in line, and when I got there, it was probably 6 o'clock at night, and I got I think it's number 76. It's actually, I still have the box for the Wii, and my line number was on the box. It was kind of cool. But that was the first time I waited for a launch like that, and I ended up spending a lot more money than anticipated, because I ended up buying a DS Lite and some games to play while waiting. and then the store opens, and I bought the $250 console. I bought an extra Wiimote. What I get, like 5 games or something. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah, I remember when I first saw the controller, the ideas started running through my head what it could do, what it could bring to the table, and I was most excited for like shooters, because I was like, man, this is gonna make shooting in games really precise, and
it did. As long as
in some cases, yeah. But it also, as over time, I also realized that shooters didn't turn out so great on the Wii visually, because my expectation was a little off, because on paper, when you found out through unofficial sources that the Wii was about as fast as original Xbox, it doesn't really take into account the fact that the original Xbox's GPU was more capable overall than what the Wii had, which was basically just a faster GameCube. So even though you had things like Half-Life 2 and Doom 3 and the Chronicles of Riddick and stuff on the original Xbox that looked amazing,
still do today, I might add.
Still do, yeah. The Wii just didn't have anything even close to what those games did on the Xbox. So,
although I would argue, granted, it ended up not being a launch game, but it was supposed to be. Metroid Prime 3 actually looks pretty damn good.
It looks pretty good, but it does look like an improved GameCube game still. I think the closest game I've seen visually that's come closest to like what the original Xbox was doing with like lighting and textures and stuff was probably the Conduit. Didn't end up being a great game, but man, those folks at High Voltage Software had a technical showing for that system with that game.
I actually have that right here. It's IGN apparently rated it best shooting game on the Wii.
Yeah, well, not a lot of competition.
I did play it for a little bit. I only just bought these not that long ago. I actually thought Red Steel in the sequel looked pretty damn good.
Yeah, Red Steel 2 is interesting because it's all like cel-shaded. It's kind of like Wild West, sort of, when it meets Samurais. It's kind of, or not Samurais, but, well, maybe Samurais.
Well, there's samurai swords. So.
Yeah, you have swords and you have guns, too. That game is amazing, by the way. That might be the best shooter on the Wii, maybe. But, yeah, Conduit's impressive as hell when it comes to graphics and control and stuff. They give you so many options with control. It's ridiculous. But it just didn't deliver on everything else.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say everything, because there's actually a lot. Like the one that you got me hooked up to, was it Muramasa, the Demon Blade?
Yeah.
That game is amazing.
2D, but man, that is a pretty game.
And when you play it on the Wii U with the upscaling, in some cases you wouldn't even know that it wasn't native.
Yeah, it looks great. It looks like a painting. But then, like, other things I thought of that did come to fruition were, like, was Silent Hill Shattered Memories on the Wii.
Yeah.
Like, the flashlight, it seems so stupid and simple, but being able to point the Wii remote as you would a flashlight was really cool. And the game attempted to do more, because in that game you can't actually fight the enemies. Like, there's no like shooting or combat, so to speak. But when an enemy gets on you, you have to like push them off and you have to actually do like a pushing motion with the Wii remotes, the remote and the nunchuck, rather. And it was really awesome. It wasn't perfect. It was definitely flawed, but it was really, really cool when it did work. It made it feel like a whole new thing.
And as far as like a launch title goes, Call of Duty 3, I thought it was actually done fairly decent on the Wii. The controls, that to me, being able to point and how they did it,
yeah,
was
all
pretty
of them
good.
actually seem to be pretty well received. I don't have, I do have Call of Duty 3 now. I haven't played it yet, but I never played Black Ops on the Wii, but I have like Modern Warfare 3. I have the Modern Warfare Reflex Edition that came out on the Wii.
Mm.
Interestingly, it came out after Modern Warfare 3 did.
Is that supposed to be like 1 and 2?
No, it's just one, but it's like motion control added stuff. And apparently Infinity Ward did it themselves or something. I don't know.
Oh. Well, it might be neat to see.
It is interesting because it's Modern Warfare, but adapted to work on the Wii, and both of those games, they control really well and they look pretty good overall. But that's also where I noticed the Wii's shortcomings in comparison to the Xbox, because like there's some things that just aren't present that probably should be, like that probably would have been on the Xbox, like anti-aliasing and better lighting and stuff like that. But
now, what about The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess?
it's a great looking game, except it's a GameCube game through and through.
Yeah.
And
but it was technically different than the GameCube game since they flipped it.
Yeah, they mirrored everything, but I don't know. I never really played that one. I saw it played, but I never got it because I had it for the GameCube, and that's the way I prefer to play that game. I still think it looks really good today. Some of those textures are a little washed out, like everybody always says. But the real showcase for Zelda games was definitely Skyward Sword. And that game gets a lot of hate, but when you go back and play it, like, that is a really good Zelda game. Like, it's not as open-ended as some, but those motion controls are, if you understand what you're working with, they work really well. A lot of people don't seem to really get how motion controls are. And I think that's why they complain and they say it doesn't work and they had to recalibrate the Wii remote every 5 seconds or something. I didn't have to do that. I had to do it like when I paused the game and came back to it. That's pretty much it. I didn't have any problems. Everything worked the way it was supposed to. And but it's also the reason why it's going to be kind of hard to bring that into the HD era, because it relied so heavily on motion and pointer controls and stuff like that it's going to be a lot more work to get modernized.
Well, doesn't the Switch, couldn't their controllers be used that way? Or
technically, but it's not exactly the same. Like the IR sensor is not on the Switch, isn't placed in a way that works the same. But we'll see. I have a feeling they'll find a way to make it work, because they would need to. It's a good game. It's just, I don't know. A lot of people gave it crap for reusing dungeons over and over again, because essentially you go through a few of the first dungeons and then some stuff happens and you have to go back to those dungeons and do more things. But my defense of that is that when you go back, even though the scenery is similar, nothing feels the same. Like, you go to the forest temple and for the second time, and it's like flooded all of a sudden. So it's like you're swimming around this forest, going places you never could have gone before, because, how are you going to reach them? And that's how it was with all of them. So I don't know. I disagree with people's dislike of that game. I think it's excellent.
Did you you got the what's that, the Wii Balance Board with Wii Fit?
Yeah, I love Wii Fit. more so the Wii Fit U on the Wii U, but that was an interesting thing too. Like that was a thing where I was like, how did this blow up? How did this sell so well for Nintendo? Like, it's so weird. It's still,
was it because I never got it?
Oh, really?
I see the balance boards for like $5 at thrift stores all the time.
Well, here's the thing, okay? So, like, if you want to lose weight and try to do it with a game, that's fine. It works okay for that. It's a light workout. You're not going to get anything intense out of that game. There are games that do give much more heavy-duty workouts, like the EA Active 2 series. That is intense.
So there was a time when EA supported Nintendo.
Yeah. Well, on the Wii, they had all kinds of support. We'll get to that more later, I think. But with the balance board, it was interesting because, you could use it with Wii Fit and just Wii Fit. There's a lot of balance games on there that were pretty fun to play, generally. But the thing is that there was also a number of other games that supported it, which they weren't perfect, but they were really novel. And if you haven't noticed, I'm a really big fan of the Wii. I think, even though it was imperfect, I freaking love it. I love getting games for it because they're so weird and they try so many things. They fall flat a lot, but it's still an interesting thing. But anyway, going back to the balance board, I suggest you get one along with one of the Shaun White snowboarding games.
Oh.
Because it's awesome to a point. Now, you can get through a lot of the races using the balance board and just the balance board. And it's really cool because it kind of feels like you're actually snowboarding. It's like an arcade experience. But then you have, you do get to a point where the difficulty is just a little too steep for the balance board's function, I guess. Like, it's just not quite effective enough to get through some of the harder stages. But to my knowledge, you can even do multiplayer with it. So in theory, if you had 2 balance boards and Shaun White snowboarding, you could have you and a buddy snowboarding down the mountain in your living room. And
I guess
it's kind of cool.
Technically, that would be pretty easy to do nowadays.
Yeah.
Being that they're so cheap.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And there's other things, too, that are interesting to me, but I've heard don't work so well. Like, there's a Super Monkey Ball game on the Wii that uses the balance board called Step and Roll.
Oh, okay.
Where basically you have to just balance the monkey in the ball using the balance board by leaning your body around. And apparently a lot of the hardcore Super Monkey Ball fans aren't big fans of that game. But I gotta say, I want it. I want it pretty bad. It just sounds awesome. There was also another Monkey Ball game that used just the Wii Remote tilt functions and stuff. Also not a fan favorite, but I kind of want that too.
Well, I'd imagine there's quite a bit of games out there that are hit or miss with certain fans. Yeah. You know, I mean, like you're saying, you like those, but
let's touch on that.
General population's not big into it or something.
Let's touch on the EA support quick because it's actually pretty interesting. Of course, they did have Madden and everything on there, which was impressive in its own.
I never actually played any of those.
I want to get one because I kind of
want to too, just to see if you gotta do the remote like you're throwing a football or something.
Yeah, they had that, but it was the Madden All Play. And they did that for their other sports titles too. It had the All Play banner on them.
Okay.
Where basically it had a mode that was simplified with like motion controls and stuff for like families to play together. I never got to play one. I kind of want to, even though I'm not a sports guy. I want to see what that does. But there's some other things that I did get from them that were really interesting. Tiger Woods 2010 actually came with the Wii Motion Plus add-on before it was built into all the Wii remotes. So it was like an ultra-precise golf game. And it sounds silly now, But man, it was so precise that like I really enjoyed it. And I'm not a golf guy. Now I know you played golf and stuff, but for me I don't really give a shit about actually playing golf. But
Well, I can tell you my perspective of golf games. Um, I did not play the Tiger Woods one. I did play it on 360, but uh, obviously not with motion controls.
mhm.
Um, but Wii Sports Golf, and then was that Wii Sports Resort Golf?
Mhm.
Those we played that all the time. That and bowling, So
Yeah.
I like doing that. Like I wouldn't go and play it myself. I don't think. It's
Well,
more of a
the resort
party type of game. I think.
Wii Sports Resort would have used the Motion Plus, but the original definitely did not.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just being able to see like these really small, precise movements. As I line up my shot or twist like if you twist the Wii remote, you would twist
The
the
wrist.
club and everything.
Yeah.
It was really really impressive to see. Other than that, though, there was another game of theirs that I'm really fond of to this day. That's Need for Speed Nitro. It was
Nitro.
made especially for the Wii, not released on any other system.
Hmm.
And it was like a super stylized looking Need for Speed game for the Wii. So it had like super colorful graphics, not cell shaded, but man, if they put black borders on everything, it'd probably be cell shaded because it was really colorful. As you like when you were in first place, as you would drive, all the buildings and surroundings on the sides of the track would actually get filled up with like graffiti and stuff.
That's kind of neat.
It looked awesome. It plays really fast. It's really, really arcadey, which I know was expected with Need for Speed. But in the case of Need for Speed Nitro, it was almost more like Burnout style of arcadey. Like it was just really fast. A lot of drift heavy racing. There was even some weapons, I believe, that you could pick up. So it was really intense. And it is definitely a must grab if you have a Wii and want to get into it more.
I'm looking at the list here of launch games, which, by the way, it looks like there was 38 of them. That in itself is amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a little bit more than the Dreamcast had, and that was impressive.
The launch games that I personally bought on launch day, I got Excite Truck, which was I thought that game was really good. I still like it even today.
Yeah, that weird thing with that one, real quick, is that if you put music on your SD card and put it in the Wii, you could play it while you play the game.
I did not know that.
It's amazing. They didn't do it for like anything else, but hey,
that's actually pretty awesome. And I know there was a spin-off. I can't remember what they called it, but basically they just swapped out the models, from what I can tell.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was I talked about the Excite Bots sequel.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that one looks pretty awesome. That one is interesting in that like the terrain and everything changes as you play.
Yeah, it's to me, because I've played both, and it's almost like they're the same game, but the trucks are different, basically. Yeah. The environments might be a little bit different, but the physics and the environmental morphing, all that stuff is the same.
Yeah.
If anything, you could say it's a sequel that did very well, with remembering what it came from. Let's see. I also had. That's kind of funny. I'm not really seeing a whole lot. Maybe I didn't buy as many games as I thought. I have a lot of these, but the ones that I know I purchased launch day, it must have been Excite Truck and Wii Sports. Granted, that came with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then the fact that Red Steel is a launch title to me is pretty amazing with how beautiful it looks.
Yeah, I never actually played the original Red Steel. I just remember screenshots. It looked pretty good for it.
I mean, granted, I was playing it on the Wii U. It looks fantastic to me.
Well,
so yeah.
When I got my Wii, I didn't get it from the store. I actually got it from a friend who just got bored of it. And it's funny because I had literally just got him for his birthday or something. I got him Mario Galaxy along with a set of component cables.
Oh, nice.
And he turned around and was like, I'm really not digging the Wii. You want it for $200 with all the games and everything? And I'm like, hell yeah, because he had obviously Wii Sports, but then there was the Super Mario Galaxy game I just got him, along with the component cables I just got him. He had an additional 1 or 2 controllers, and none. Well, I think he just had one nunchuck. I think I had to buy a second one myself. But I think he had Metroid Prime 3. Wasn't getting into that. Had something else too. I can't remember for sure right now, but yeah, I got it all for $200, and I was like, well, that's a deal.
Now, is that the GameCube compatible one?
Yeah, it was a launch unit, basically.
And I think maybe that was why I didn't buy as many games, is because I still had my GameCube and the GameCube games to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool. Sales wise, as of September 30th of this year, the number is 101.63 million consoles.
Yep. It is just recently passed up by the PS4.
Yeah, which is pretty amazing in itself, because I would imagine there's still some life left in that.
And the Wii is getting yet another Just Dance game this year.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Holy
Not the
Lord.
Wii U, though, but the Wii.
Wow. Well, it would work on the Wii U, so I guess,
yeah.
Why develop it twice?
It's just crazy. Like, Ubisoft just keeps on trucking with those.
Well, I wonder how many, what's the sales numbers on those games? There's got to be a reason behind it.
I don't know. Working in retail, I don't feel like we sell a lot of them, but we definitely sell them. I've had to get them out of the case for people when they're still $50. So people are buying it.
So what is that, Just Dance 2020?
Yep.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And you know what?
Later.
I understand the Dreamcast is getting releases here and there, but it's third party. You know, it's not even
independent stuff.
Yeah. So technically, we could call it fourth party or something.
Yeah.
But it's, there's publishers and stuff, but the Sega has nothing to do with that. Here, I would imagine that Nintendo is licensing that game still.
Yeah, this is Ubisoft. I mean, they just keep on going.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, sucks if you want to have 100% of that Wii collection, though. Every year, buy that Just Dance game.
Oh, we're getting one game this year.
Yeah, and that game of all things, which I'm sure most collectors aren't even going to play.
Wow.
They just want it.
It's unbelievable, though. 13 years later, still getting games, legit games, even though they're not for us. Someone's buying them.
Yeah.
But also, there was another system that had released just, a few days prior.
Well, I was going to ask you about some favorite games before we go into that one.
Yeah.
We can touch on that one maybe next time.
Yeah, possibly.
Because there's some games on the Wii that I don't feel like get enough attention, and I think it's worth mentioning those.
Well, let me look at my shelf real quick.
Well, while you do that, one of my absolute favorites on the system is Pandoras Tower, which was not originally going to release over here because Nintendo didn't I guess they didn't think it would sell. But then there was this campaign that was started by a bunch of fans that were asking for Nintendo to release a number of games that they did not plan on releasing in North America. And among them was Pandora's Tower, Xenoblade Chronicles, and The Last Story from the Final Fantasy creator.
Oh.
And what happened was this thing became known as Operation Rainfall. If you look it up, you can find details. I actually think it was started on IGN forums. I could be wrong about that, though. But basically, it was a petition thing going around, and they wanted to get Nintendo to publish those games over here, since they were publishing them over in Japan and Europe. So they ended up succeeding pretty much 100%, but in a roundabout way. So like Nintendo ended up publishing Xenoblade Chronicles over here, which was huge. And which turned out to be awesome because that's kind of a franchise now. Like we got Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U.
Yeah, I have that one.
And Xenoblade 2 on the Switch. So like it was a good move, clearly. But the other ones, Pandora's Tower, ended up being published, I think it was by, I want to say Xseed, and I think they also published The Last Story. And it's funny because Pandora's Tower it looks fairly anime when you see cutscenes and stuff, but it's pretty dark in content. So like, you're trying to save this girl, but she literally has to eat the hearts of these monsters to stay alive and not turn into one herself. So it's pretty dark stuff for being like an anime looking game, but it kind of feels like a Castlevania sort of. But there's that game. Samba de Amigo also came to the Wii, and unfortunately it doesn't play great, but I do commend Sega for trying. I just wish they got the controls right. Obviously, everybody knows about the Marios and Mario Karts.
Which happens to be on my list.
Yeah, Sonic Colors, I think, is one of the best 3D Sonic games ever made, along with Sonic Generations.
We're going to have to talk about that different podcast with the new movie and the new look. Holy moly.
Yeah, looks a lot better. What else is there? Of course, there's the Donkey Kong Country games. There's a game called Lost in Shadow. I
don't have that, but that's on my list that I really want to get.
It's very interesting because you play as the shadow of somebody. So the way it works is pretty wild. If you want to see it for yourself, just look up some gameplay videos somewhere. But it's something else. It's pretty cool for a platformer. I'm trying to think of what other games there were, because there were so many interesting games on that thing. Obviously, we mentioned the Conduit.
Yeah.
EA also published the Medal of Honor Heroes series of games, and Heroes 2 is really quite good.
Which is interesting because they also put it on the PS2.
Yeah, they did a lot of that. Silent Hill Shattered Memories, like I've already mentioned, is pretty awesome. There's a lot of light gun shooters that were pretty great on the Wii, like House of Dead 2 and 3, House of the Dead Overkill.
I think I have Overkill.
Yeah, and then there's what is that? Ghost Squad.
That one's great. Made. Yeah,
that's pretty awesome. I did that. I did a video review of that over on my Pixel Play Cafe, so maybe we can inject some footage here, or you can go watch it over there.
Yeah, I'll do that.
That was awesome. And then they have one game that a lot of people don't realize is a really great light gun shooter on that system is Dead Space Extraction.
Yeah, actually, that's another one on my list that I need to get.
Yeah, that's really good.
Not really out in the wild, though.
No, it's a top-notch game, though.
One of my favorites is, my Metroid Prime Trilogy Collector's Edition.
Yeah, that's obviously a good one.
I love how Metroid Prime 1 and 2 were kind of reprogrammed for the controls.
Yep, and it worked really well.
So much better than the GameCube way. Oh my god. It's excellent. And I do like the Mario Kart game, and what's it? New Super Mario Brothers is fantastic.
Now, a lot of people don't give the Sonic racing games enough credit, but those should not be overlooked either. Whether it's on the Wii, Wii U, or any other system, those are great. Those first two are awesome. I haven't played the third one yet.
I'm sure I have other favorites, but the Wii for me, it was kind of like I was excited when I got it, and then kind of lost excitement over time, just because there was so many shovelware games, and like I ended up getting a PS3 a few years later, and then that was kind of like my major focus with that and 360.
Yeah, I kind of lost focus for a little bit, because it was kind of the same thing. There was all this hype around like the new Assassin's Creed and whatever stuff was on 360 for me, and I kind of just lost interest in the Wii for a little while. But it was when I went back that I started to notice like these games are really interesting. They have something different about them that makes them stand out from what the other systems had. Like Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam comes to mind. That was a really interesting game. SSX Blur or Blurry or whatever it's called.
Yeah,
it's pretty awesome. It's just a lot of weird experimental things that were happening on that system, and even today I still love collecting for it because it's, even though almost every single game I grab is flawed in some way, it's still fascinating as hell for me to see how they worked out.
Now I could be wrong about this, but was the Wii the last system that essentially didn't have day one patches and stuff like that?
Might be,
because I don't remember booting up a game and you have an update, you better download that.
Yeah, the Wii U is pretty admirable about that. Like, there wasn't a whole lot of patching like right away, but there definitely was more than there was on the Wii, which says a lot considering how few games were on the Wii U.
Yeah. And then of course, I mean, we could keep going and going and going, and I know our time is getting short here, but we do have the Virtual Console had eventually made its way, and you had all these systems and games. Of course, you had to rebuy a lot of that stuff, but I think it did quite successfully.
Yeah, it was cool that it didn't have just Nintendo stuff. It had like Sega Genesis and Master System and arcade, TurboGrafx, Neo Geo. It had like everything.
Yeah,
it was really cool.
Pretty awesome. I did buy some. I got some NES titles. I didn't really get any of the other stuff, but
I wanted to mention the WiiWare also.
Oh yeah,
because like there were some original games that were really cool. Like Lost Winds is one of them. It's a kind of a weird platformer where you control the wind with the Wii remote and blow this character to make him jump. So like you just kind of, as you kind of move the Wii remote, it blow the wind in that direction.
Isn't there a microphone on the remote?
There is, but that's not how they did it, luckily.
Oh, okay.
You'd probably pass out if they did that. But that was a really cool game, and it's on Steam now, where you just use the mouse to do the same thing. It's a great game, but it got totally overlooked, though. But other than that, like Konami was in full swing with their Rebirth games. Castlevania Rebirth, Gradius Rebirth, and Contra Rebirth, which was really awesome to see.
Before Konami became crap.
Yeah, pretty much. But it was a really nice service, and that was the only thing I could do online at the time because I was living at home for a short period while I had the Wii. And where my parents lived, it was out in the middle of nowhere, and their internet was through satellite.
Oh.
So the latency was so bad, I couldn't get on Xbox Live if I wanted to. And I could log in, I just couldn't play anything. But the one thing that did work just fine was downloading games from the Virtual Console. So I ended up buying a whole bunch.
Well, that's not so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, everything else, though, not so great.
So anyway, I mean, we could keep going and going and going.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, I'd like to basically, you know, end it here. But I do want to say that you know, is the PlayStation 3 also turned 13 a couple days ago. And we'll probably talk about that later, or maybe I'll do a separate video or something. But we didn't really have the experience with that because neither of us got it around launch time.
Yep.
It was just too damn expensive. I mean, that was the big thing. And the Wii was cheap. And I was in college at the time. I didn't really have any money at all. So it was kind of like, I'll get the Wii because it's different, you know, and it'll be fun. The PS3 was just, you know, basically what the Xbox was doing, except with the Blu-ray drive.
Yep, and it ended up being a favorite too eventually, but we'll talk about that.
Yeah, and
more in that video.
I did get it like 2 years later or something for Uncharted 2 when that came out. So eventually I did get it, and now it's actually one of my favorite systems of all time. So, but you have anything else you?
No, I think that's about it.
Okay. Well, with that being said, I want to thank everyone for tuning in this week, and it's kind of amazing, you know. It's more like an every other week pattern right now. I don't know if it's going to stay that way. It'd be awesome. But thanks for tuning in, and like always, happy gaming.